It could be that I'm oversimplifying everything here, but if you're a filmmaker in the horror community, to make your stuff pop and for people to sit up and take notice after they've seen your film and say, holy hell, I had no idea that was coming, you need to take one of the time-tested tropes, one of the stories that we commonly go back to, slasher in the woods, vampire next door, put your own spin on it, swerve it a different kind of way. Just add a little bit of creativity and I'm hooked. As a consumer, I'm hooked. Don't give us the same old story where only the names have changed to protect the innocent. That's not interesting. It's been done. Vampires, for example. What if, let's say, we have a pack of vampires and they're out hunting, and guess what? They don't have fangs. So simple, yet it's just enough of a twist to make you take notice. This brings us to 1987's Near Dark. Let's bite into it. We even kick this one off with a proper bloodsucker as a mosquito is going to town on a cowboy's arm before he is smashed and left a bloody stain. Now, our cowboy in question is named Caleb, and Caleb is in his pickup truck. He's heading into town in the middle of the night looking for something to do. Meets up with a couple of buddies at a bar, and they're sitting outside the bar. They're having a conversation, and out of the store right down the way strolls a beautiful young woman with an ice cream cone. Now, the boys all gawk until Caleb decides to stroll down there and have a conversation with this young lady. In this movie, Caleb is positioned as our leading guy. That's the way he's presented to us at the onset. But having seen a lot of horror movies and a lot of movies in general, this guy has some of the creepiest, rapiest vibes that I've ever seen thrown out at the intro of a film. At first he asks for a bite, which is harmless enough, and it's amusing considering that this is a vampire movie. May finds it amusing herself, but when he learns that she needs a ride home, his ears perk up. Opportunity's knocking, right? This kid, granted, he's just doing a little bit of recon, asking about her family, asking if she's got a boyfriend, but he is sitting there driving her down this dirt road, paying more attention to staring at her, calling her beautiful, than he is the road in front of him. Then May gets swept up by something going on out in the night. She asks Caleb to pull the truck over, which he does. She gets out and she starts spewing nonsense, it would appear to me as a viewer. She says the night is blinding. She says the silence is deafening. Those are major red flags for me. I don't care how pretty she is. There's something clearly going on with this girl. But Caleb, he's smitten. He gets a little aggressive, which is where that rapey remark comes in, and he starts trying to kiss her. And she pulls away, and Caleb says over and over again, I've never met a girl like you. And May is sitting there, knowing what she knows, and smirking to herself as if, yeah, you definitely have not. Now, by this point, this girl is asked to go home a few times, and Caleb keeps taking her different places, anywhere but home. Again, not appropriate, buddy. He winds up taking her to the family farm in hopes of impressing her with a rope and a horse. That's how a lot of bar jokes start. This horse senses there's something wrong with this girl and loses his mind, races away. She knows why the horse doesn't like her. There's something going on with her. Caleb decides to use the rope to lasso her and bring her close. Now, he does steal a kiss, but she realizes it's late. This is a problem. If the sun's getting ready to come up, that's not good for my skin. We got to get back to the crib. So there we are, rambling down another dirt road before Caleb decides to stop the car in the middle of the road, take the keys out, put them in his pocket, and refuse to go another inch without another kiss from May. Bro, that's how you get arrested. May gives in, and she actually winds up giving him probably one of the heavier makeout sessions he's had in his young life before biting him on the neck. It's what you get, you predator. Realizing what she's done and how close they are to that sun coming up, May hops out of the truck and races home on foot. Now, Caleb gets out and tries to follow because the truck won't start. Whatever she did to him is already taking effect because he's getting weaker. You see smoke starting to come off of his skin from where that sun's coming up. It's all really cool how fast this takes hold of him. Back at the farm, Caleb's dad is up. He's tending to some animals. His little sister Sarah is playing outside, and she sees her brother struggling to walk home. He's tripping over his own feet. He looks very ill, and Sarah points that out to her dad. Now, before Caleb can get back to his family farm, you see an RV speeding his way. Very cool shot. And just as he's starting to cross over a road, that RV pulls in front of him, snatches him up, and speeds off with him. Now, dad and sister give chase, but they're not catching a Winnebago. So the real treasure is actually inside that RV, because the absolutely motley crew that we wind up with comes to us straight from the set of Aliens. An all-star group that just wants to see Caleb die, until of course they realize he's starting to turn. And then May decides she's going to take care of him. None of the rest of them are happy about any of it. So from Aliens, we get the terrifying trio of Lance Henriksen, who plays Jesse, somewhat the leader of this group. We get Jeanette Goldstein, who plays Diamondback, which would happen to be Jesse's main chick. And then Bill Paxton plays the righteously psychotic Severn. They're awesome in this movie. In addition to those three, though, we've also got Homer. Now, Homer is a vampire that was turned when he was real young, so he's forever looks like he's 12. Lucky you, right? But he's chilling. He's very scary in this movie. A lot of the things he says and a lot of the things he does, and later on in the movie, who he becomes obsessed with, is pretty unsettling. So our Near Darkers here decide they're going to give Caleb 1 week. And if at the end of the week he is a asset, then he gets to stay. And if he's not, they're going to leave him by the side of the road at a sunrise, and he's toast, literally and figuratively. Now, Caleb decides he doesn't want to stick around. He's painfully sick, and all he wants to do is get home. Now, there's a really cool scene here. Caleb is stumbling around town like a drunk, and he stumbles past the Warner Theater, and on the marquee, you see the movie Aliens. I never noticed that before. Noticed it just during this rewatch, and I thought it was very clever. I popped for that. He winds up getting on a bus at a bus station, and about 5 minutes into the bus ride, he just can't take it. He is so sick, he winds up crawling back to the vampires, and more importantly, crawling back to May. May knows he needs blood, but he won't kill. So she bites into her wrist and feeds him her own blood. But she explains to him, you have to learn to kill. And she has a great line here that says, the night has a price. Great delivery. Jenny Wright absolutely kills it in this role. I haven't seen her in a lot of movies aside from this one, but I thought she was really, really fantastic. As May's trying to convince Caleb that he's got to kill, we see several instances of the crew luring in victims. Homer is laying on the road next to a downed bicycle. An old man stops to check on him. And Severn acts as a handsome hitchhiker. A couple of interested young ladies pull over, and we never see or hear from them again. Diamondback and Jesse actually get carjacked, and what you talk about terrible, terrible luck for those carjackers. Caleb and May, though, they hitch a ride on a truck with a very friendly guy, but Caleb can't do it. May ends up doing it and then feeds Caleb shortly thereafter, but he goes crazy on her wrist, and she explains to him, if you drain too much from me, I'll die. The week has passed at this point, and the dad and the sister are searching for Caleb, but Caleb's new family isn't very happy with his performance, so they decide, this is your last chance. This evening, or that's a wrap for you. And the bar scene in this movie is probably one of the highlights of the movie, and Severn steals the show, of course. He's in there, he's talking trash to all the locals, he knows nobody can do anything to him, and some of these guys look like pretty rough customers. The guy behind the bar's got a double-barrel shotgun that does nothing to anyone.
Finger licking good.
The poor waitress is assaulted, essentially, by Jesse and drained into a beer mug. It's an intense scene, and before too long, those guys aren't there 10 minutes before. The patrons are dead, the bartender's dead, and there's only one guy left, and that guy is meant to be Caleb's first. Now, May's a soft touch in this movie. She approaches this guy, she dances with him, she's very sweet to him before she tells Caleb he's all yours. And Caleb goes up to him, but this dude does a last action hero, dives out of the window of the bar, and Caleb gives chase. Now, all the rest of them, all the Near Darkers, they sit back and they torch the bar, and they're having a blast while Caleb chases this guy. Caleb catches this guy, but ultimately Caleb decides to let this guy go. And his new friends are not happy with that decision because they know he's going to run off and he's going to tell the cops. And then they got cops on him. No loose ends, bud. Have you ever seen a movie in your life? This, of course, all leads to the group of vampires being boxed into this shitty motel, and we get great visuals when the police decide to open fire on this place because every bullet bursts through these chintzy walls and a little bit of daylight shoots through them. And when it makes contact with the vampires in that spot, they burst into flames. Caleb is able to work his way into their good graces by getting the van, risking himself, driving the van into the hotel, grabbing them all up, and racing off. Now, I don't know how none of those cruisers caught that van, but none of those cruisers caught that van. By some stroke of luck, either bad or good, Caleb's dad and Caleb's sister, Sarah, are staying in the same hotel that these guys wind up at after they bust out of this other one. After the police shootout, they show up, and Homer goes outside to catch smoke, and he hears somebody at the vending machine. That somebody is Sarah, and Homer immediately is taken with her. Now, just to show how creepy this band of vampires, because they're very engaging. The vampires in this movie, and more importantly, the actors playing these roles, are fantastic. They're the best part of the film, because the lead is very wooden to me. But to drive home how sadistic and twisted these vampires are, when Homer walks in with this sweet little girl, Sarah, Severin goes, "Who ordered the pizza?" And then they start joking, and you know exactly what's going to happen to Sarah, and you're like, holy shit, this ain't good. This poor kid, because anytime, and we've talked about this before, in a horror movie, if you have a little kid that's in some serious danger, it really messes with you. And it's always messed with me when I saw that. And that's where we're at with this. Eventually, they collect Caleb's dad from the hotel room, and they're all in one room, one big, happy, twisted family. And Caleb is begging Jesse to let the two of them go. Homer refuses. He's obsessed with Sarah. He doesn't want her to go anywhere. He wants to turn her so she could be with him forever. Caleb gets the slightest of openings and is able to get his dad and his sister out of there and back towards the farm in a vehicle, leaving the near darkers behind, even though you know they're not going to stay there for very long. Great ending to this movie. You know, fangs or no fangs, these vampires are terrifying. All of the actors are magnetic. They do their job so well here. They're all legends. And for me, it's Severin that steals the show. Every scene he's in, he's just fantastic. He's endearing at one point to Caleb when he gives him one of his spurs, and you know he's a bad guy. He's about as bad as they get, but you kind of like him. You really like him. In fact, as I mentioned before, these are the characters that you want to watch on screen. The lead, if it was a little bit better, the score would have been a little bit higher. May was good here. Caleb's dad, I've seen him as the bad guy in too many movies, so I didn't really care for that guy at all. His sister was adorable, and her being in danger really focused things for me, because I was more invested at that point at the good guys winning than these guys taking this kid away. This one ages gracefully for me. Near Dark is near perfect. It's a 9 out of 10. Can't find a lot of things I really don't like about it. It's a great spin on vampire lore. I love the fact they decided to do their own thing, and they absolutely killed it. Great cast. We talked about the leading guy. I wasn't a fan. If we get a better guy in that role, maybe it's a 9.5, but you're really, really nitpicking there at that point. 1987 is turning out to be a banner year for horror, because the movies I've been watching that came from 1987, fantastic, and this is no exception. I love that they gave us new vampires, a new twist on vampires, and I'm a vampire guy. I like vampires probably more than I like the Wolfman, and that's a controversial statement. But this is Aging Gracefully. I am Matthew Essex. See you on the other side. Getting near dark.